Okay, what are you saying, people? And welcome back to another Forex live stream. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel and also drop a like in the video if you're feeling generous. But like I said, got another live stream coming up. If you haven't already, join me on my Telegram channel. Left link to that in the live chat and the description below. Make sure you go check that out. But we've got another live stream. I'm going to talk you through what's happening in the charts and see if we've got any opportunities coming our way. No problem, no problem. Happy to help, happy to help. Again, good to see people making those pips. Oh, in Usd Cad, are you buying or selling Usd Cad? So we'll start with Usd Cad actually. See what's going on with this pair. So recently, Usd Cad, I'll start on the daily time frame. Usd Cad, we have seen a decline in price. As you can see, the overall trend is still very much to the downside. However, again, on my weekly analysis video, if you haven't already seen that, guys, make sure you go take a look at that. But we did spot a key level on the weekly time frame. That price has actually come back to test for the first time since actually leaving that area. So again, a nice area of support. If you do take that across, you can see we're tapping back into that area now again. So it could be expecting to see a reaction from this area to the upside. Again, if we jump to the lower time frames like the 4H, the hourly, you can see we're starting to get this bowl shape here for Usd Cad. We've had this really strong impulsive move to the downside, and it looks like we're getting a bit of a bowl shape, which is indicating that price could be reversing to the upside for Usd Cad if price does continue. If we jump on the hourly time frame, it does look like price is in an area of resistance, so we probably do need to go and break through this area properly for price to really kick off. As you can see, we tapped it once, second, third, fourth, and now we're in that same area for a fifth time. So price for Usd Cad looks like it's trying to go higher, and if it does, I think we could come back to this area here in the market. We had all this consolidation and we saw price really drop to the downside. So I think we could go back and tap into that area there again. But of course, we do need to take out this resistance because price keeps rejecting this same area. Recently, we've really taken off to the upside, so price has found quite a lot of momentum there, some bullish momentum to the upside from that same support. So it does look like price for USD Cad will take out this resistance and continue to the upside. But again, if it does, we do have a nice range to the upside to that area there in the market, around 60 pips. So could be seeing a possible breakout to the upside for USD Cad of that resistance. Right now we might see a little bit of a retrace because we'll come into that area again. You can see reject it numerous times, might see a bit of retrace, then a continuation to the upside there for USD Cad. But I'm feeling, because we've recently had that big push to the downside for USD Cad there on the daily, I'm feeling as though that will probably retrace to the upside a little bit now that we've had that impulsive move. Again, not expecting anything major as in a reversal for USD Cad or anything like that, but possible move to the upside in the retrace of that bearish leg that we had to the downside last week. So I think USD Cad, if it does manage to break through that, can see a lot more possible opportunity to the upside, tapping into around this 1.24 area. Euro USD, are you buying or selling Euro USD there? Because it does look like we've got a quite weak Euro USD right now. As you can see, price is pushing to the downside there. Again, you can see we've had this nice bullish trend here in the market there in the 4H. Probably see it a little bit better than hourly, the highs and lows. So you can see prices pushing to the upside really well last couple weeks. However, this week looks like the trend is changing and price is turning a little bit bearish here. So price looks like it could be seeing further continuation to the downside here for Euro USD if it does keep up this price action. As you can see, we did take out that low there on the hourly, stormed through it, retraced yesterday, and looks like today, Tuesday, price has continued in that bearish journey to the downside. So again, I did say Euro USD could retrace to around this area here. Again, you can see a nice area of support, big push to the upside. I think price could come back to that area, maybe even 1.9 before continuing to the upside. So bias overall long term for Euro USD is still very much to the upside, but for now I think we're in a bearish trend here and we could see this continue a little bit further to the downside. We are coming into this area of support here, so might see a little bit of a reaction there for Euro USD, but I think we'll probably break it. You can see we do have a very strong close there to the downside on that candle that just closed on the 4H. So I think we could see some further continuation to the downside there for Euro USD and a possible move back into 1.19500, maybe even 1.19, depending how bearish it is or how strong we see the US dollar in the next coming days or so. GP USD, so short from around 1.389, so around here, yeah. So okay, yeah, GP USD, we are looking quite bearish there. It does look like possibly a nice entry there in the market there for GP USD. We do have this area here, which I've just spotted here, of support and resistance. So support, resistance. So we came and tapped that area. Again, I do think we'll probably see GP USD continue to the downside a little bit further. Again, we do, if you're probably in that short, we're probably looking to target this area here, potentially maybe even further, because if we do zoom out a little bit, you can see prices pushing to the downside, making a low. There's our lower high, lower low, potentially lower high there in the market as well. And if that is a lower high, you do expect to see price come back down and retest that previous low. But more often than not, you do see price come back and make a lower low after that. So if GPUSD does respect the structure that it is showing so far, probably see another swing back into this support, potentially a little bit further. Again, on the daily chart, we do have this key area that price will probably break if we keep up with that US dollar strength there, and we could see GPUSD come a little bit further. Looking at the daily, potentially this area here, because if we do break for that support, that's kind of like the next area that the daily does gravitate to. So if we do take out that support, I do see price pushing to around 1.36750, so around that area there. But overall GPUSD, I think it's going to see another move back into that area. Breaks through it, we'll probably see a nice drop into that area down there. So bias right now for GPUSD is looking quite bearish, possibly seeing price push back into that area at least, again a little bit further if it does break through. If it does get back above that area, might see a bit more upside momentum for GPUSD if you do get back above this area here, and a possible move back into that 1.4 area, which price keeps rejecting as resistance. So again, around here, as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tests of this area, and price keeps breaking through it. So if you do take out this level here, I do see price pushing back to 1.4, but right now GPUSD is looking quite bearish, and I think we're going to see that momentum continue a little bit more back into this key area here around 1.38. So bias is to the downside now for GPUSD, expecting a push back into that same area. So because we just take a look at those USD pairs, let's take a look at some other ones as well. AUDUSD, again, this one's looking bearish here as well. You see we just rolled over to the downside. Looks like yesterday was just mainly retrace of this bearish leg that we had towards the end of last week, pretty much Friday. Then we had this retrace, looks like it was yesterday, pull back, and now we've had this continuation to the downside from that same area. So price right now is looking quite bearish here for AUDUSD. We're coming back into the same area of support, same area of demand here in the market. So as you can see, if I just drag this across, we've tested this numerous times now, and we're coming back into that same area. I do think, however, we'll probably end up breaking through that area, since again, it looks like we've got a triple top there in the market. As you can see, price is really struggling to break through this 0.78 region. Tested it once, second, third, and that third actually broke through this previous low there in the market. So we are looking quite bearish. I do think we'll probably see price eventually break through the same area of support and actually push back down into this area here, since we did not get a retest when we did break through it a couple of weeks ago. As you can see, nice resistance there in the 4H, had this big push to the upside, big surge to the upside, didn't really retest any levels there. So I do see price pushing back to around 0.76500 and potentially tapping it into those areas there. So AUDUSD right now is looking very bearish. You can see that on the 4H. Hourly as well did have a nice push to the downside. So it looks like coming back into this area around 0.77, which is this support. Again, tested numerous times. I do expect to see a little bit of bounce at least to the upside, but a retrace of that bearish leg there. But then I do see price breaking through that and continuing to the downside. So I do see AUDUSD more continuation to the downside and a break of that level there just below us. So for AUDUSD. Next, take a look at USD. Again, similar to AUDUSD. Again, this one seems a little bit more bearish than AUDUSD actually. As you can see, very strong close to the downside. Again, looks like we just formed a lower high there in the market. So I do see USD moving a little bit further to the downside there. As you can see, broken through this trend line. Prices looks like it's created another lower high, and then I do see price pushing back into this area here in the market. Previous resistance, again, similar to AUDUSD when we did not get that retest of that same area. So again, we're respecting this resistance really nicely. Previously, 1, 2, 3, broke through it, did not get a retest. So I think potentially price could come back and test that area, which is around 0.70600. So I think potentially could see a nice fall to the downside for USD. Again, around 70 pips there to the downside. We do have a bit of support here in the market, which is where kind of the trend line did originate from, so could cause a bit of struggle, but I do see USD pushing to the downside past that level back into this area here, which again probably be helped if we do see that US dollar strength coming to the market. If you do take a look at the DXY actually, you can see it's looking like it's turning bullish here, which could hint for more strength in the US dollar this week, or potentially even further depending how far this goes. But if you do take a look at the DXY here, you can see we had this trend line, this bearish trend line, which kept us in the bearish trend for quite some time here. You can see there's numerous swing highs there. Price keeps rejecting that same trend line, keeping us in that bearish trend, and eventually, again, I think just on Friday last week, we broke through that trend line. Price came back, looks like came back to retest some sort of level in the lower time frames there, giving us a lower high, and is now looking quite bullish again. So I think DXY might see a bit of a push to the upside this week, because again, looks like we're having a little bit of a reversal, breaking through that trend line, giving us a higher high past this area here in the market. So this was our previous swing high, broke through that, gave us a higher high, looks like a higher low, and looks like price wants to push on a little bit further to the upside. So knowing that information there for the DXY, seeing that we can get that US dollar strength potentially, again, that does validate some of my ideas for AUD pushing down, Euro USD pushing down a little bit more, and NZD USD pushing down a little bit more as well. USD Cad might be seeing this pair push to the upside. You can see here on the 4H we are losing steam to the downside. Price is still making lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs. However, we are losing that steam. You can see the bullish candles again come to the market a little bit more stronger, a bit more impulsive, and price is losing that steam. And as you can see here, price action was very, very strong. Now the pullbacks are getting much deeper, and it does look like we are getting a slight curve here, which does show that the trend is running out. So I do expect to see maybe a little bit more retrace to the downside coming into that resistance there for USD CHF. So here on the 4H, if I jump to the hourly, maybe see it a bit better. So coming into this area here, you can see we had some nice spikes into this area. Nice to see a bit of retrace, and then could potentially capitalize on some longs, anticipating a break there and a push to the upside. So I do think USD could be on its way to the upside. Again, retrace some of the bearish momentum that we've had the past couple of weeks or so. But it'd be nice to see one more pullback, because again, don't want to be looking to go long into that same resistance, which last time we were there gave us a strong reaction to the downside. So don't really want to be going long into that same area. So wait for price to retrace a little bit, come back by a nice area of support or demand, and then look to buy into that, and could be seeing a nice push maybe to around 0.92, or maybe even further, depending how bullish we see the DXY term this week. So biases to the upside for USD CHF. Again, it still is a bearish market here, so a little bit difficult to look for buys there. But if it does go and break through this area that is coming into now, I think we could see some nice upside momentum for USD CHF. Again, USD JPY, another USD pair here, is looking bullish as well. Looks like we just came back down to tap previous resistance, now turned support. So resistance, just turned support. Nice bounce to the upside, and looks like it's slowly continuing. So last week for USD JPY, we're looking at this area here in the market of previous support, term resistance, and we were looking at this area thinking whether we're going to hold as resistance or break and retest as support. And as you can see, we eventually did come back and break through this area, retest it as support, and then continue to the upside. So it looks like this whole price action that we have here in the market, which we were talking about last week, it looks like just be one big false breakout of this area of support. So you can see really nice area of support there. It was this big move to the upside all the way up to 111 there. And then we had this break, retest, push down. Looks like it was a false breakout, because price is really taking off to the upside. So I think we can see a bit more momentum to the upside there. You can see the price action on the H4 is still bullish. Hourly running out a bit of steam, so might see a bit of a retrace a little bit. But I do see price continuing to the upside there for USD JPY. Again, probably helped with that DXY strength that we're seeing in the markets. Daily still looking bullish there. So looks like we could be seeing more upside continuation for USD JPY, potentially coming back into this resistance here in the market, which it did tap into it a little bit there yesterday, but I think we could push it a little bit further, maybe even break through it anyway. But USD JPY, in my opinion, looking at that analysis, is still looking quite bullish, and looks like we could see another leg to the upside there for USD JPY. Next, if you take a look at GBP JPY, so another JPY pair, you can see price right now is a little bit choppy, a little bit messy for USD JPY. We did get some nice swings last week, however, not too sure if we can see JPY push back to highs again, or if we've got a reversal on our hands. If you take a look at the daily, it looks like price is still failing to break through this resistance here. It is still forming higher lows in the market, so you can see there's one, there's a second, and there's a third. So we are still forming higher lows into the market, so it is indicating that we still are in a bullish trend, but price is having a really hard time pushing through that resistance here, and we might be seeing a reversal from this area. So if we do hold this area as resistance, looking at from a daily perspective, then potentially could see GBP see another push to the downside, back to these lows here in the market. But again, it is critical that we do hold that as resistance, because if it doesn't and price actually breaks through that area, then we do have a very good chance of price holding as support and continuing back to these highs and just continue the overall bullish trend that we've seen for Chfjpy in the past few months now. So Chfjpy, again, my bias is a little bit indecisive for this pair, because we are in an area of value here. So if we do go and break through it, then I will have a bullish bias for Chfjpy, pushing to the highs around 153,500, potentially a higher high after that, because again, at that point the market is still overly bullish. So probably see another push past that area, back into maybe 154. But if you do hold this same area as resistance, which we have done numerous times, as you can see, looking across, looking back, you can see 1, 2, and then we've got third, fourth, fifth. So it is testing numerous times. Price is rejecting this area, and if you do keep that up, we could see price eventually push to the downside there. So is the area of value. Watch price action in that area. Looking at the hourly time frame, again, not too much has happened there. We've tested it a couple of times, forming a little bit of an area of support just underneath us. If you can break through that, potentially price can go a lot further, but right now still indecisive. So we'll keep an eye on that pair, but for me, there's not really any sign of any clear trade there. So I won't be looking to trade Chfjpy for now, but could be potentially be warming up for a good opportunity in the near future, maybe later this week. Taking a look at another GBP pair. If we take a look at GBP NZD, so GBP NZD is looking quite bullish here. Last week we're coming into an area, a bit of consolidation. I said if you do manage to break out of this consolidation, we'll probably see either a move to the downside to around 1.9, or move to the upside back up to 1.95, which is this resistance here. And it looks like we are getting that move to 1.95. You can see yesterday we poked our head just above that consolidation, came back to retest it, and now price is looking very, very bullish here. So I do think we'll probably see price push back into this resistance 1.95 and potentially give us a little bit of a range between this support here and 1.95. So looks like price going to push into that area. Expect to see a little bit of a bearish reaction, so could maybe capitalize on that reaction to the downside. But nonetheless, GPNSD still looking bullish now, expecting continuation back into 1.95 there. Yeah, I'll take a look at that. I've got Euro GBP here. So Euro GBP, again, we're looking bearish here. We had that consolidation all throughout last week and probably the week before that as well. So as you can see, consolidation all across here, back at these previous highs. We did get a strong close below yesterday, I believe, or either this morning. So a strong close below there. It looks like we came back, retraced, tapped that same area. On the hourly chart, you can see we had a bit of consolidation. This is just the pullback and the continuation to the downside. So right now, Euro GBP is looking very bearish here. I do expect to see further continuation to the downside into this area here. As you can see, we did see a big push to the upside from this area of demand. So I do see price tapping back into that same area around 0.86400. So this area, and then from there, I do expect to see price reverse and push back into those highs, because looking at the higher time frames like the weekly, the daily, we are still looking like we are turning from bearish to bullish here. So you can see you have this strong bearish trend here to the downside, and it's looking like price wants to turn bullish and see a bit of retracement to the upside. So knowing that, I will be looking to see if Euro GBP can go along from this area. However, if it does break through that, then we'll probably see a bearish market here, and probably Euro GBP will push back to these lows here. But for now, we are looking bearish. I'm expecting price to continue to the downside, again into that 0.86400 area where we saw this consolidation and that big boom to the upside. So could potentially be looking for opportunities maybe on the lower time frames, bit of a pullback potentially, and then continuation back down to that area. We've got price support, now term resistance right about here, so could look to go short from that area. But I do see Euro GBP further continuation to the downside, testing that area. Then from here, could be looking to go long if we do see the market turn bearish to bullish, see some good price action, could look to anticipate another swing back to the upside. So that is my analysis behind Euro GBP. I'm waiting for price to tap into that area and see if we can get some nice price action to go long. If it does remain bearish, could probably see a break. And at that point, if we do take out this price swing low here, we'll probably see the market just remain bearish and probably come back to these lows. So a lot of different possibilities there for USD, but again, important just to keep up price action, see what it does in the key areas, which will probably be this area here now, because we have broken out that consolidation. Then maybe see a continuation to the upside from there on. So all eyes on that area for me for USD. Yeah, we'll take a look at gold right now. So gold, yesterday we took off to the upside quite well. As you can see, we had this key area of support going through the market. We did see a spike through to the downside not too long ago. I think that was last week anyway. A massive spike through. Again, that probably would take a lot of people's stop losses out, catching people on the wrong side of the market, people shorting that candle. And now we've had that give us that move to the upside. So for gold, I'm still bullish on gold, I think. I do see price breaking through this same area of resistance. So again, we've tapped into it 1 second, now third time. I'm going to get a bit of a bearish reaction from there. So I still do see gold pushing to the upside. Looking at this from a daily point of view, I still see gold pushing to around 1810, which is this resistance here, there on the daily. But right now, still treating this bearish move that we're seeing there in the 4H on the hourly there as retrace in preparation for a bigger push to the upside. We do have this area here of demand here, so we did see price kind of take off. So it might mean that price wants to push down into this area, wait for it to turn bullish, and then we could be capitalizing on longs there for gold to the upside back into that 1796 area, which is that resistance. And then if we do break through it, we'll probably push back into 1810, which is that daily resistance up there. So bias for gold is to the upside, but right now it looks like it is retracing to the downside. So it is bearish currently. Again, coming into this area of demand where we did see price take off to the upside. So monitor price action in this area, which is around 1780, 1778, around this area here. See if we do see some bullish price action and could be getting in some longs back into 1796, and then if we break through that, all the way into those highs there. So bias is to the upside for gold, but right now looking a little bit bearish. So not waiting to get into gold right now, but if we do hit into that area, we'll be looking at possible longs back into those highs. And again, if you break through that into that daily zone, so bias is to the upside for that pair. Next, we take a look at some of the AUD pairs, because AUD is looking quite bearish so far. Starting off this week, if you take a look at AUD Jpy, so AUD Jpy not too long ago was pushing to the upside quite nicely. I was expecting price to actually get back to these highs up here, which it still well could do, but it does look like it's running out of that momentum and might see a push to the downside first, because again, we've had that nice push. Price are kind of moving that corrective way, push to the downside, tried to move back up again, failing to do so. So we might see a bit of a move to the downside for AUD Jpy this week if we do keep up this price action. Looking at it on the hourly time frame, as you can see, we've had this push to the upside, failure to push through again, and a third time, and it looks like we have taken out this support now. So for AUD Jpy, for price action here, it's looking quite bearish. If we do stay below this level here, I do see a continuation back down into that support. Again, tested it quite a few times now. So again, 1, 2, 3, 4. I do see a push back into 84,200 now for AUD Jpy since we failed to break through that resistance. So we've got a bit of a triple top there, broken through that support with that close there on the hourly. And if you do see that continuation and that follow through, it'll probably take us back down into 84,200. So bias is to the downside for AUD Jpy. It's failed to make a higher high and looks like it's going to roll over, which does play nicely with my AUD USD analysis, which we are expecting to see another push to the downside as well for that pair. So looks like we could be seeing some AUD weakness here in the markets. You can see on the hourly, very strong closes to the downside. Looking at the 4H time frame, 4H time frame for AUD Cad here, you can see price is really bearish as well, making those lower highs in the market there. So looks like price will probably roll over for this pair as well, back into these lows. So again, if you want to take advantage of that, probably drop to the lower time frames, 30 minutes, 50 minutes, look for those pullbacks and then capitalize on that move back it down into these lows here. We do have this counter trend line here in the market. So first test here, second there. Looks like we're just getting a third. So a break of that trend line will probably take us back down to those lows there, potentially even further, because at that point I'll probably expect to see a lower low past that point. But nonetheless, price for AUD is looking bearish. Looks like we just had a bit of a false break of those highs there in the market. So this was our previous swing here, push the downside, lower low, push back up, formation of that lower high. However, we did spike up just above it, again taking out people's stop losses just above that wick, and now we've had that bearish follow through there, tapping back into that trend line. So if you do go and take out that trend line, I do see a nice move back into those lows, and again potentially further. So it looks like we do have some AD weakness across the board here. Looking at the 4H for AD Cad, so again AD Cad create those new lows again probably yesterday, or if not end of last week, but price right now is looking very bearish here for AD Cad. Again, coming back into this area here, again we did see a big reaction, so we might see a little bit of a bigger reaction there for AD Cad, but nonetheless price is still looking very bearish here, and I think we could actually see price tap back into this area of support if you do manage to get a break of that. But right now AD is looking like we have some weakness across the board here, and we could see that continue. And again, same thing for NZD as well. Again, AD and NZD do move quite similar, hence why AD and NZD is very, very choppy pair. But Chfjpy, again, we're seeing that weakness coming through again. Had that nice break to the downside, bit of retracement yesterday, and now Tuesday we are getting that follow through to the downside. Looks like we tap back into this area of supply all the way up here. So again, you can see very nice bearish reaction to the downside. We've tapped back into that, so we might see another reaction to the downside. Again, I'm not saying price was going to move all the way back down to these lows here, but we are due to see some bearish reaction here in the market, potentially right back down to this trend line. So first, second, third, could be seeing a fourth test of that. So we do see any pullbacks on the low time frames, could look to take advantage of that, and a break of that trend line could take us a lot further to the downside there. USD Cad, again, still looking very bearish. Again, in my weekly analysis video, I did say to you guys that any opportunity to short USD Cad, if you do see a pullback, probably look to take that pair, because looking at this from the higher time frames like the daily, I am expecting price for USD Cad to push back down into this area here of the market, so and give us a lower low, because we did have this bullish trend. Price was just building up here, nice spike to the upside, and then we had that big breakdown to the downside. This here was just one big pullback to around 50% of that move, and now we're getting that continuation back down to these lows. And again, if you do keep up that bearish structure, we anticipate a lower low past that region into this area here. So I do expect to see USD Cad push back down to this area here. We are creating a little bit of support here, so if you take a look at the left, you can see support, support, support coming back into that same area. But if you do manage to break through that, it will now turn resistance, of course. And if you do hold that, probably see that continuation to the downside. Might see a bit of struggle around this area here, of course, because we did see a nice bullish reaction. But nonetheless, I do see USD Cad rolling over to the downside there and continuing looking bearish, because overall we are still very much in the bearish market, and it looks like we're just getting that continuation to the downside there. So USD Cad looking bearish, Chfjpy looking bearish, USD looking bearish, and Chfjpy again looking bearish as well. So USD weakness across the board, similar with AD as well. So again, looks like it is a good pair to look to add some shorts to and capitalize on that opportunity, because if it is going to keep this up for the rest of the week, could be seeing some nice swings to the downside for these pairs. Chfjpy, you can see if looking left, we're in that bearish trend in the market. Price tried to go bullish here numerous times, trying to take out that previous swing on the left. We've tested it once, second, third, and the fourth time. Now we've finally collapsed through that support. So for Chfjpy, looking like a good opportunity potentially to take a short and look at this area here around 0.65. Again, in the hourly, you can see a nice area of demand, big push to the upside. We've now taken out that support, holding as resistance. We've seen this nice bearish leg coming back into that same support there, so might see a bit of a pullback, which again is only an opportunity to look to short the pair. And if we do see that pullback there to the upside, could see a nice follow through back to the downside, back down to 0.65. So bias is very much to the downside for Chfjpy. I'm expecting that support to break and see a nice move back down into that area of demand there on the 4H, and potentially even the lower low, because again we can see those lower highs on the higher time frame, so we could anticipate a break to the downside as well. So overall price is still looking very bearish here. Again guys, if you're in any different markets, any different pairs, just let me know. We'll take a look at them, analyze them together, see what's happening for those pairs. And again, if you're on any trades as well, just let me know. We'll take a look at them together, see how they're getting it on. Currently right now I'm in a long on Chfjpy, looking for a move to the upside. So again, we had a really nice area of support down here around 1.26 for Chfjpy. Again, if I go to the 4H, you can see if you scroll left, we had this nice area of support here in the market with those wicks, and I'll just take that across. You can see we tap back into that area for the first time after we had this move to the upside. We had this really nice area of support just above us here, which again a lot of people would have been buying Chfjpy from. So again, just connecting that wick. So there we've had that breakout to tap into that support. Then we had that really nice engulfing candle to the upside. Price retested it and looks like it's continuing to the upside there. So currently in a long for Chfjpy on my MT4, looking for a move to the upside. Again, we are coming into the resistance here, so I might look to close the trade if we do get rejected from that area, but potentially could actually see Chfjpy push back into this level here, which was that previous swing point. So could actually see a really nice swing to the upside for this pair if it does continue, but I'm aware that we could actually get rejected from this area of resistance if Chfjpy does want to roll over to the downside. But right now Chfjpy is looking very bullish here, and looks like we're seeing that continuation to the upside. Cad as well starting to look bullish, pushing to the upside. Again, this pair has been very bearish for the past couple of weeks or so, so it is due some retracement to the upside. Again, you can take a look at that. We had that big spike to the upside, and the market absolutely fell to the downside. So we are due a bit of retracement to the upside for some of these GBP pairs after seeing some weakness that we had last week. Again, we got price support going across here, which we did not really get a retest of. So it looks like price could be coming back and retesting this same area up there for Cad. So could see a little bit more continuation to the upside for this pair. Again, you can see we had that pullback kind of overnight there, and then we're getting that follow through this morning. So Cad still looks like it's on its way to the upside, and we could be seeing a little bit more GBP strength coming to the markets, because again, Euro GBP, we were analysing this pair just a moment ago, and we're saying that we're going to expect to see further continuation to the downside here. So if that was to happen, again, we need to be seeing that GBP strength and also be seeing that Euro weakness coming through. And we looked at Euro USD, expecting to see more movement to the downside for that pair, because again, we're getting that break of structure there in the market. So higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. Now we get that lower low, then we get the lower high. So it looks like the market is changing on us there. I do expect to see a push back into 1.195 for Euro USD there. So bias is very much to the downside, but might see a bit of retracement to the upside first, and then the continuation to the downside first. But Euro USD overall is still looking very, very bearish here, and I'm expecting price to roll over back down to these lows there in the market. Again, if you take a look at GBP AUD, so again, similar to GBP NZD, you can see this pair is taking off to the upside. Again, GBP NZD was looking very bullish as well. So you can see in the hourly, we're pushing back into this area of resistance here. Again, we are probably due to see a bit of a bearish reaction. But if you take a look at the higher time frames here, price right now for GBP AUD is very, very choppy. You can see if I zoom out, price hasn't really gone anywhere for the past few weeks or so, maybe 5, 6, 7 weeks. It's basically just been consolidating. We are pushing to the upside now, so a little bit of a difficult pair to read It looks like we could be seeing a push back into this area here in the market. If we do get that continuation through that resistance just above us, which does look quite likely after that strong close that we had at 10 a.m. For GPAUD there, but nonetheless, price right now is still looking very bullish. I am expecting to see that continuation to the upside, back into that area of resistance up there. So GPAUD is still looking very bullish. Expect that to continue at that area. Could be looking for some shorts. I wouldn't look to go long right now because the market's definitely having that impulsive leg. It could retrace on you, so we'll be looking for shorts maybe around this area here to capitalize on another move to the downside. But not really interested in GPAUD right now because again, GPNZD as well, anticipating a move back into 1.95. Again, could be looking for some shorts around that area if you do see some nice reactions there for GPNZD, or we could actually get a breakout, but expecting to see some sort of bearish reaction from that pair, potentially another swing back to the downside and just continue on that range. If you take a look at Euro NZD, which again similar to GPNZD, you can see we are again very choppy pair. It looks like we are trying to break to the upside here in the market, because again you can see we have this nice area of support, a nice area of resistance here in the market, and it looks like the market is trying to break to the upside. You can see we sort of getting a high low here in the market, so nice area of support. It looks like the market right now has just formed a higher low there in the market, so it is indicating that we are building that bullish strength to go and break through that same resistance and see a push to the upside. If that's the case, I'm expecting price to come back to around 1.69400, which is that area of supply which we did kind of dump to the downside. So I do see price, if we do get that breakout, of course, push back into that level there, and it is indicating that we are going to see a push to the upside, since we are respecting that higher low, and price has sort of got a bit of a trend line going as well there. So if we do keep that up, I do expect to see a break to the upside for USD and a push back into that area. Looking at this from a higher time frame like the daily, again still very choppy. Recently we got a breakout of this trend line here, ending that bearish trend, so it looks like we could be seeing a start of a bullish trend. If that's the case, that kind of validates our idea of the market pushing to the upside as well. So I think we're going to see a break to the upside. Obviously we haven't had that yet, so I'm not going to say we are, because again it hasn't happened yet. But if we do get that break to the upside, which does look more likely than to the downside, I think we're going to see a push back into these highs. Again, a nice clean area, not much resistance in its way, and potentially even a breakout. But nonetheless, expect to see a nice push back into those levels for Euro NZD, which again will be helped with the NZD and the AUD weakness that we've seen in the market so far. Again, Euro AUD does move similar to Euro NZD, however, we have seen some difference in price action for these pairs recently. As you can see, Euro AUD has been slowly trending to the upside, but overall the price action is still very choppy here. You can see we've had this push to the upside, pullback, push to the upside. Looks like potential pullback, but again I'm not too convinced yet. This pair has been very messy. You can see on the daily, looks even worse there on the daily. So again, very hard pair to trade. Not seeing pretty much any opportunities here to get long or short on this pair. So gonna stay away from USD for the time being until we get some more clarity here for this pair. We do have a slight trend line here in the market, so connecting these points, so first, second, third, just had our fourth. It does look like we're failing to break through the same resistance here in the market, so it is indicating that we might turn bearish, but again I'm not too convinced yet. So I'm going to see a little bit more development for USD for me to get a clear setup or clear picture or where price could go. A break of that trend line could give us some clarity there, because it looks like we've had that push, failed to make a higher high. Break of that trend line could give us a nice opportunity to go short, but right now I'm not seeing much there for USD. So I'm waiting for a little bit more development for that pair, and then potentially could get a short or potentially maybe a long and a continuation to the upside. But not really interested in Euro AUD for the time being. Next we take a look at Euro CHF. So Euro CHF, again another very messy pair. Don't often trade a Euro CHF, but we did take a look at this pair last time on the live stream, and we were expecting to see another move to the downside. I think we're trading around this area here. I mean, again, we did see that move to the downside, just continuing this bearish structure here in the market. So push, pullback, push, and potentially can be seeing it maybe a little bit of pullback again formed, another push, and again we are tapping back into this area of demand here in the market. So again, we did tap into it first time there. Now we've got a deeper test, so I'm going to expect to see a bit of a push to the upside. Again, it probably is just another pullback, so the price action will probably be very corrective, similar to the price action we had here. So again, probably not the best setup to trade, but I am favoring a push to the upside. But again, I'm not really interested because I don't normally trade USD, and again, the pair is very messy. You can see there on the hourly, pushes up, it comes straight back down. So not too interested with this pair, but it does look like we could be getting a move to the upside for USD Cad Jpy. Another JPY pair here. As you can see, we took off to the outside very rapidly last week. This week, we might see a bit of retracement of that move. We're coming into a very strong area of resistance here on the higher time frames. I think if we go to the weekly, you can see we've got this wick here, which price hasn't yet taken out, and we'll push back into the highs of that area. So we could be seeing a bit of a bearish reaction to the downside. Yesterday, we closed it as a doji there, so we're seeing indecision there on a daily point of view. 4 hourly time frame, we had a nice push to the downside. Looks like we're seeing a bit of consolidation. Same there on the hourly time frame, we've tapped back into that. Maybe if we go and take out this support here, we could see that move kick off to the downside and see a bit of retracement of this big push that we had last week or a couple of weeks ago. But right now, it looks like we're just getting some more indecision there in the market. So not really seeing too much opportunities there with Cad Jpy, but I think if we do go and clear that area to the downside, we could potentially see a bigger push to the downside, maybe halfway, so 50%, and then the continuation back up again, because Cad Jpy, again, higher time frames, monthly, weekly, daily, are still very bullish there. So if you are going to go short, probably don't want to hold on to that trade for too long, because we could just see a continuation from the higher time frames back into this level and maybe even a break through it. So Cad Jpy potential could be some shorts there, but probably wait for a bit more confirmation there for that pair. Cad Chfjpy, again, another Cad pair. Again, for this pair, again, very, very corrective price action so far. We've had this nice dump to the downside, and our price is kind of slowly pushing back up. It might want to move into this area up here, because again, as you can see, that's really where the move kicked off from. So it might slowly move and tap into that area and then see the move to the downside. But right now, price action is still very, very choppy here. Again, it is still respecting this trend line almost, as you can see, first, second, third, fourth, fifth test. So price is respecting that trend line and looks like it's slightly moving up. Might see a push back into that area there of supply and then kick off again to the downside. But again, Cad Jpy, not really one of my favorite pairs, don't really trade it that much. But if you are looking to get involved in this pair, I'll probably say wait for another push to the upside into around 0.74700, and then potentially could be looking for those shorts after that. But again, on the hourly, not seeing much as well for Cad Jpy either. So expecting to see a push to the downside, but probably will come from that area, and then potentially could be seeing some nice potential shorts for that pair. So I'm not looking to get involved just yet, but could be some opportunities coming up. So yeah, like I said, guys, currently in that GBP long, looking for a move into that resistance up there, not too far left to go. Probably believe around, so yeah, around 10 pips or so. Probably take some profit off, because I think we could be moving a little bit higher than that, potentially into around this area here. So we'll look to hold onto around 1.27800, but we'll be taking some profit off at that resistance there in the market, because as you can see, that was kind of the previous resistance that did reject us to that level. So potentially could see the exact same thing happening again, tap into there and then see another dump to the downside, which again, I don't really want to be involved in. So we'll be taking some profit off the table there, and then see if we can get some more continuation to the upside after that. Again, if you're in any different pairs or you're in any different trades, just let me know. We'll take a look at them together, just put it in the live chat. Or if you want some analysis on a different pair that we haven't taken a look at yet, or if you want analysis on the same pair, just let me know, put it in the live chat, and we will take a look at through those pairs together and see how they're getting on. But right now, currently on GBC Chef, so you can get moved to 1.27200, and then potentially a move into 1.27800 after that. So you're going to see how this gets on and see if you can get a move to the upside for this pair. Okay, so I'm going to take a quick look at GPUSD. Okay, so for GPUSD, like I said for this one earlier, we came into the area of resistance, we got rejected. As you can see, this is the H4, by the way. So we got support there, resistance, tapped into it again yesterday, I believe. And you can see we did fall to the downside. So GPUSD, again, it's kind of an area of indecision here. So I wouldn't really look to get interested in the market at this area personally. Probably wait for areas like so. Around here to go for resistance to look to short the market, or here to look to long the market here. I really would stay out here because it's a bit of indecisive, bit indecision. We could see another pushback to go and retest this area, or we could see the market roll over to come test this support. So I personally wouldn't really say look to get involved around this area, just because it is in between a nice area of support and a nice area of resistance. If you do see a pushback to this area again, could look for a long to go back up, or potentially if you do go back to the area, could look to go short to go back down again. But me personally wouldn't be looking to get involved in this area here in the market, just because it's in between two key levels that I will be interested to buy or sell from. Again, on the 4-hourly chart, if you look at the bigger structure, we are making lower lows, lower highs. So again, we have that push to 1.4, push back down, lower low there, push back up, lower high, formed a lower low just below that point there, and looks like potentially could be another lower high. So could actually roll back to the downside to tap that area again and retest that same support. So if you want to go long, potentially could be looking to go long from around this area down here, which is probably a better area in my opinion of that area. We do have a slight support there in the market, which we could see a bounce from, which is probably what's giving us that little bit of that bullish candles that we're seeing in the market, because again we do have that kind of mid-level between those ranges between that resistance and that support. So it is giving us a bit of a bounce there in the market, which could give us a push back into that resistance if it does hold. But of course, if it doesn't, it'll probably mean we'll roll over to the downside back into the support, which is probably a better area in general to look for buys to go to the upside there for GPUSD. So that is what I'm probably favoring for this pair. If you do take out that support, probably roll over and go and test those lows there again. So not really too interested in buys at that moment in time, but if you do see a pushback into these lows here, probably be a better place to look for buys as well, because again you can see we did see a nice injection of price when we tapped into that area, so we could be seeing a similar push to the upside as well if we tap that area and see some bullish price action. So that is my analysis behind GPUSD. We kind of had that reaction there, could continue that bearish reaction to those lows, and then that could be a better area to see a nice push to the upside from then on for GPUSD. So again, hope that analysis did help. Yeah, we'll take a look at Chfjpy right now. Okay, so Chfjpy for this pair, I believe we did see a nice push to the upside, clearing those highs. So Chfjpy again is still very much in a bullish market here in the daily. Again, we did clear those highs, I believe last week was it? Yeah, this is the daytime frame. So I believe last week we did clear those highs there. So it looks like Chfjpy could be in some retracement now after that big impulsive push to the downside, before maybe seeing another swing to the upside after that. Taking a look at this at the hourly time frame, you can see we do have this key level of demand there in the market. We did see a big push to the outside, and looks like price is slowly coming back into that area. So for Chfjpy, I believe we might see a bit of a push to the upside coming into this area here. You might see price come and tap it a little bit more, and then a little bit of a push to the upside. I'm not sure if we will see the continuation back into the highs over here, but I think we will see a push to the upside from this area, potentially at least back into this resistance. So maybe if we drop to the 30-minute, you can see a little bit more of an area of value there. So this resistance here, which we did get a nice double top before rolling over. I think if we do tap into this area here, which we have kind of just done, I think we'll probably see a nice push to the upside, at least into that resistance. maybe even further back to there if we are going to see another continuation of the overall bullish trend of this market. But right now we're coming back into the area of value, and if you do hold it and get some nice bullish price action, I think we'll probably see another push to the upside for Chfjpy. And if you do clear this if we do clear that area, actually, we'll probably see a bigger move to the downside, potentially back to that that previous high in the market, which is around 118,900, which kind of lines up with that support there. So Chfjpy coming to the area of value. If you do hold it, get some bullish price action, probably see another push to the upside back into the area, and then maybe even potentially further after that. So biases to the upside if you do hold that level for Chfjpy. So again, hope that analysis did help there. Chfjpy. So again, we've kind of got two different areas. Not Chfjpy, GPCHF. Kind of got two areas right now. So GPCHF. Just jump to the 4H. Again, this was kind of like the first area of take profit for GPCHF. You can see we wicked into this area numerous times. We've kind of just tapped into it right now. So I will be looking to take some profit now for GPCHF. So it's not the best idea to look to get back into this trade if you're not really in it already, because we're coming into an area of resistance. You can see if you look left on the 4H here, numerous wicks into this area. Prices obviously struggled to break through this area before, so no, I wouldn't say it's valid to enter right now. Even though I do expect to see potentially a break of that area and a push back into this resistance here, I still wouldn't probably advise people to look to enter there, just because logically it doesn't really make sense entering at that resistance, but we could see another push back into that support. So GPCHF, we're testing this area here for the first time. Taking a look at the cross, you can see a nice area where we had those two wicks, and price kind of really took off to the upside. We build up some nice support just above this area, so waiting kind of for this support to break, a bit of a false breakout of those areas there to tap into that support, and then we saw that nice push to the upside after that area. So we've had that bullish momentum to the upside, tapped to the first area, and if you do go and break through that area, I expect to see a move back to 1.28. So potentially, if you're looking to get involved for this pair, wait for a break of that, pull back, show prices holding on to it, and then a push back up to 1.28. So could be looking to get involved in that move there for GPCHF, but as the price action is right now, I would not recommend for price to go and buy that, because again, you can see all those wick rejections. It's not really the best area to look to buy GPCHF right now. We'll probably wait for a pullback and then get involved, but no real entry there. Kind of hit the first area already, and we could actually see from this area another push to the downside. So could see a bearish reaction there, expect to see a move to 1.28, but of course we need to break through that area, and if we do on the retest, potentially some entries there in the market. But right now nothing really there to go for GPCHF. Yeah, we'll take a look at Euro JPY. Okay, so for Euro JPY, if I just clear the chart, start fresh. Again, so not too long ago, I think for Usd Cad, last time we were looking at it together, we were all around this area here where we had this consolidation. So price was kind of building up. A bit of a false break to the upside there not too long ago. So nice close there above, came straight back down again, catching people on the wrong side of the market. And then we eventually actually did go and break to the upside there. As you can see, a nice really big push to the upside, giving us some new highs at around the 132,200 mark. So Euro JPY, if I probably jump to the hourly again, knowing that the higher time frames are still very bullish, we're coming back into this area of support here in the market. So we're coming back into an interesting area. We've kind of poked just below it, as you can see here on the hourly. So a nice wick below as well. I think we are still kind of hanging on to this area, and if we do, I think we'll probably see another bullish reaction to the upside here for Euro JPY, at least back into this area of resistance, into that area of resistance there, which did send us back down. And if you clear that, we might see a bigger push to the upside after that, and potentially we do have a little bit of a trend line here in the market. So again, resistance there, second there. We might see a push back into this trend line here in the market, but it does look like we're hanging on to this area just about, with those 2 wicks just below, again catching people on the wrong side of the market, taking out stop losses, because this was our previous low. Again, people will look to buy around there, or stop losses just below. Those wicks would have taken people out, and then we could see a push to the upside after that, if we do remain holding that level. Of course, if you do go and break through it to the downside, then potentially could see a bigger push to the downside after that, because you can see the price action is quite clear here. I did the same thing again. What's that about? So push to the downside, retest, looking for that continuation. So again, you can see the price action when we did break to the upside out of that consolidation. There's kind of really no resistance there in our way for around 50 pips there. So we could actually see a really nice dump to the downside for EUR/JPY, potentially back into around this area here in the market, which was our previous resistance, which we did not get a retest of. So if we do break to the downside, there is a lot of room, probably more room than to the upside here, because we could be seeing a bigger pullback eventually for this pair. But if we do hang on to that support, again, probably going to expect to see a move back into around this resistance, which is around 131,650, and a break through that, probably come and test the trend line. If we don't, however, and we start seeing some rejection in this area, and we see a push to the downside, then could be capitalizing on those shorts all the way back down to around 138.50. So it's 2 different ideas there for EUR/JPY, buys and sells, but right now it looks like we're still hanging on to that support, so probably favoring a push to the upside first. However, if we do roll to the downside, because again, that was quite a very impulsive move, is showing a lot of bearish intent there. If we do have that push to the downside and price does manage to get below, quickly want to change your bias, because at that point we'll probably see a nice dump to the downside, back into that area there, and probably just fill that range to the downside. So 2 ideas there. Critical area in the market, look to see what price action does down the lower time frames, maybe in the 15-minute, 30-minute, then look to base your trade off those. But right now we are hanging on to that support, so we could see another push back into 131,600 area. So again, hope that analysis did help. Yeah, so I was actually looking at the DXY today, and it was looking like we actually could be seeing a push to the upside. So again, we had this big bearish trend here to the downside for the DXY for quite a few days. Again, you can see there's lower highs all building up at that trend line, price rejecting quite nicely, and now we've actually rejected it. We've actually broken through that area and now holding this area here as support, which is kind of like a demand area in the lower time frames. But it looks like we've formed a lower high, a higher high there, sorry, and now formed a higher low as well. So if we do keep up this price action, I think we'll actually see a push to the upside for the DXY, because it looks like we're breaking through that trend there in the market. We've tapped into this area here of support here on the 4H. So if I just take this across, and you see tapped into it once, false breakout, broke through the trend line, now forming that higher low. And you can see we did get a really big move to the upside from that same area of support, so it does have some value behind it. So I think from the DXY point of view, it looks like we could be seeing a push to the upside. Again, I'm not too sure how far the DXY will go, because again, I think long term the DXY is still very much in a bearish trend here, and we'll probably see price take out these lows sooner or later, probably in the next few weeks, few months or so, to the downside, and really see DXY form some new lows. So I do think that is still very likely for the DXY, but right now it's looking like we'll probably see some retrace of this bearish leg to the upside, then expect the continuation after that. So we might see a move maybe halfway or so, and then the move to the downside. Again, I'm not really seeing any real key level that is jumping out at me that says price will probably want to come here then turn around, but could see a move maybe halfway, maybe to that 92 area or 92,500, and then after that see the push to the downside. But right now it looks like it's forming that bullish reversal pattern, maybe a bit of a head and shoulders there, so left shoulder, head, right shoulder, looking at continuation to the upside. So I'm feeling for the remainder of the week, or maybe next week or couple weeks after that, might see a push to the upside before the DXY does reverse and goes down eventually for the bigger move to the downside. So I believe it's going to move to the upside, but yeah, I think it's just a retrace for the bigger move to the downside eventually. But with that in mind, so again, if we do see that DXY going up, probably see some US dollar going up, which again, all the AUD, all the USD pairs, like ADUSD, Euro USD, GPUSD will probably go down after that. So some information to take there, but of course if we do fail, break through that level, we'll probably just see some continuation to the downside after all. But right now we are looking quite bullish, so I think we're going to see some US dollar strength coming in for the rest of the week, or maybe even the week after as well. Okay, so I'm going to take a quick look at GPNZD. So for this pair, again, still looking very, very bullish. We've tapped into that area 1.95. So we had this consolidation last week of this area. I said if we break to the upside, probably push to 1.95, break to the downside, probably push to 1.9. So again, broke to the upside there, retested as support. So you see push, nice close above, came back down, retested that consolidation area support. Then we got that follow through to the upside today. So I'm tapping into 1.95, which is this resistance here in the market. We're likely to see some sort of push to the downside. I'm not saying we'll probably see it swing all the way back down to these lows, but I think we'll probably see some type of reaction. So if you're looking to sell the market, I'll probably say this is probably the best area. We could even break through, but if you do see some nice rejection, you can see on the hourly time frame, we're pulling back there quite nicely. Of course, that candle has not closed yet. It could still close bullish, but we are seeing some type of rejection from that area. So again, when you're looking at your trades, you probably want to identify where's the best place to buy, where's the best place to sell, rather than just getting in just because you think the market's going up or you think the market's going down. So always identify the best places to buy and sell. This probably is again, not a bad place to look to sell the market, to see the market come all the way down to this area. So we could be seeing a similar reaction again, since we do have a bearish trend here in the market. You can see lower lows, lower highs. So again, it could be a nice area of value to look to get involved in some shorts from this area. Of course, we could break through to the upside. If that's the case, we're probably changing trend anyway. So we'll probably be seeing a bullish market from then on. But right now we're tapping into that area for GPNZD, and if you do hold this area, I do expect to see some retrace to the downside at least, maybe back to this area here, which was our prior resistance. Tap back into that area, might see a push back up. If you get through it, you'll probably see a continuation back down to these lows after that. But right now, coming into that area of value, and if we do reject that area, I do expect to see some push to the downside for GPNZD, and similar to GPAD as well. I don't think GPAD has quite hit that same area. GPAD has hit that area on the hourly, spiked above it just about. Again, the real area of demand, of the real area of supply is up here. As you can see, nice spike to the downside. Could probably see price maybe slowly climb to the area, tap into it, and then see a bigger move to the downside. But right now we are just spiking through those previous highs there in the market. And again, the market is quite bullish, so it's likely we are to see some retracement as well to the downside, maybe back into that same area over here. Then could see a nice push to the upside after that. But right now, GPNZD, GPAD, again, very, very similar pairs, pushing into areas of value, likely to see some retrace to the downside after that. So that's kind of my analysis behind those two pairs. But right now, the markets are still very bullish, and no real indication to get to any shorts just yet for those pairs. Okay, so I'm going to take a look at GP Cad. So GP Cad again pushing to the upside recently for this pair. Took a big dive to the downside. You can see how this consolidation spiked to the upside, again tapping into that area of supply, and then we took a nice dive to the downside. So price overall is very bearish here. You can see the bearish trend there in the market. Looks like right now we're getting a bit of a pullback to the upside. So again, still treating this push to the upside here as retrace. Expecting to see a bigger move to the downside happen for GP Cad. Again, we've got this price support here in the market. So 1, 2, 3. Kind of did retest that resistance slightly, but I think we could see slightly a little bit more push to the upside there and then roll over again to the downside. Because looking at this from the higher time frames like the daily, the weekly, we do have this kind of area, this kind of range in the market. So nice area of support, which I do think we're likely to come back down and test, because again we did kind of test like this resistance here in the market, which was giving us the resistance to the range. So again, resistance, kind of false break to the upside, push back down, so it's likely we're going to come back and test the lows of the range again, breaking through that resistance. So again, this is a very impulsive move to the downside, so we are likely to see some retrace. So again, we are seeing the market push to the upside quite nicely right now, and again it's still expecting that to be retraced for the bigger move to the downside. And again, a really nice area of value is this support and resistance, so could maybe see some more continuation to the upside, see what happens with GP Cad around this level, see if it rejects it, or if it breaks to the upside. If it does reject it, then possibly could be a nice area to look for some shorts back into those lows here around 1.68. If we do get back above, we might see a bit of a deeper retracement after that, but nonetheless, I think GP Cad is still on its way up to see a bit more retracement, a bit bigger of a pullback. If I do get a fib on this, you can see price is not really even at the 0.382 of the retracement yet, so we still got more upside potential for this pair, I do believe, and a bit of a retracement of that big bearish leg, and then we'll probably see market roll over back down to these lows after that. But right now still looking bullish, so I still think we'll probably see a tap of 1.71800, maybe even higher if you do break through it, but nonetheless expecting a push to the upside. And when we do start to turn bearish again, we could probably see a bigger leg back down to those lows there at around 1.68. So eyes on for potential big sell, but right now I think we've got a lot more pips to catch to the upside if you are looking for those longs for GP Cad. Okay, so it's just gone 12 p.m. So I'm going to look to wrap up the live stream and do a quick rundown. Some of the pairs that I looked at earlier, see how they're going on, and also my current trade as well. So first, going to start with AUD USD. So you can see if this pair again still looking bearish. Really, not too much has happened there for this pair since we last spoke. You can see a little bit indecision. Of course, we can expect that coming back into that area of support. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This will be our 6th test if we do come back down and test that area. But it does look like we're rejecting this area of resistance here, having that triple top. So potentially could see a breakout to the downside and a push back into around this area, around 0.76500. So AUD again still looking bearish. You can see very strong close to the downside. Haven't quite tested that support yet, so I expect to see another push back into that support. Maybe a bit of a pullback after that, but then could see a break to the downside from that support there for AUD. Euro USD again still looking very bearish, still expecting to see a move back down into this area here. Nice area of demand, big push to the upside. Again, we're still stuck at this area here, and as you can see, another area of demand there as well, coming back into that support. Price is having a bit of a reaction, but I do think we'll probably roll over to the downside. You can see how this big impulsive leg to the downside last Friday, I believe. This was a bit of retracement there on Monday, and looks like we had that continuation to the downside today. So expecting to see a push back down to this level around 1.19500, potentially even 1.9. USD USD again still looking very bearish as well, similar to AUD we broke through this trend line here, had a nice push, looks like we had a pullback from that lower high, now getting the continuation. So expecting to see a move back down to this previous resistance, now turn support here for USD. So any push you see to the upside is likely to be pullback, and as you start taking out this level here, then expecting to see that continuation back down to those lows there for USD. USD Cad coming back into that previous lower high there in the market. Again, like I said, you'll probably see a bit of a retracement to the downside from this area, because this was our lower high. So again, nice area of support there. Could tap into that and then see the push to the upside, breaking through that resistance and seeing a bit of a reversal to the upside for USD Cad. But again, really strong area of resistance, 1, 2, 3. I'll see another reaction. So expecting to see a bit of a pullback to the downside before another push back higher. Chfjpy, this one's still looking bullish. Hourly is running out a bit of steam, but as you can see, you broke back above this key level. So really nice area of support. Took us to 111 there, got rejected, broke below, broke back above, so a bit of a false break there, retested, and now as you can see, we're still bullish again after just rejecting our previous resistance turn support. So I think for Chfjpy, we're going to see a bit more upside continuation, maybe into one of these areas of resistance around here, potentially this area up here, before maybe seeing a bigger push to the downside. But right now, price is still looking bullish, and I think we'll probably see another push up higher. And USD Cad for this one, again, we did see a bit of a push to the upside. You can see in the hourly, we're getting a bit of that bowl shape there. Big sell to the downside. Now we're losing that momentum and gaining that bit of a bull shape there. So I think we could see a break of this resistance. You can see right now we have a few wicks to the upside, so it's likely we're going to see a bit of retracement to the downside first. Maybe retap that area before we do see that break to the upside, and if we do, I think there's a good chance we'll probably tap back into that area where we had that consolidation and that big sell off to the downside. I think there's a good probability, if we do of course break that resistance, see a nice tap of that area, which is around 1.24. So I think USD Cad indecision right now, clear that area, bias will be to the upside, and I think we'll probably see a move back up to 1.24 for that area. But right now looks like we are rejecting it as resistance, so likely to see a bit of a pullback to the downside for USD Cad. And like I said, currently in that GP CHF long, we've currently tapped into that resistance. So we'll be looking to see if I can close some of my position off the table. But I do think potentially we could see a bit of a pullback and then eventually a break to the upside, breaking through that area and a push to around 1.28, which I'll probably close the trade completely at. But right now we're pushing to this area. We are having some bearish reaction, as you do expect to see. You can see all those wicks, and they did give us this move to the downside. So potentially could actually give us another move to the downside again if we do reject that area. So I'm going to take some profit off the table, but if we do break through this, we'll be looking to target 1.28 up there. So I'm going to stay in that trade, but take some profit off. Again, I will be in this trade, will most likely be in this trade for again tomorrow. So we'll give you guys an update during my live stream tomorrow. Again, same time, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. So make sure you're there to check that out on how the trade is going. But that is the end of this today's live stream. Hope you all enjoyed it and found it useful. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel and also leave a like on the video as well if you're feeling generous. But thanks again for watching, guys. Really appreciate it. And until the next one, I will see you guys later.